develop that scientific bent of mind. Otherwise, you will be found wanting as the world progresses.
Some employees may fear that AI would replace their jobs, but in reality, it is that AI is meant to augment human capabilities, not replace them. Welcome back to the final episode. We are in conversation with Avadhesh Dixit, CHRO Equity Knowledge Partners, and we're going to pick up from where we left in the last episode. So, as much has been the positivities around uses of generative AI or AI and large language models and automation in HR, so has been some of the negatives, which cannot be ignored entirely. My first question to you of this in this episode is adoption is one thing and integration is the second most important thing. I want to ask you, how do you see and what do you see are the key challenges HR teams and organizations facing when they are looking at integrating AI to HR?
We at Acuity Knowledge Partners are very, very clear that almost every technology is a step up when it comes to we embracing it and we exploiting it for the benefit of our customers and for the benefits of our internal customers, that is employees. We as a company remain very, very positive that in spite of the challenges that I spoke about, the regulatory challenges, of course, they are there. The challenges of biasness of data and the biasness of the results or the prejudicial algorithms that may get potentially written by people. I'm very, very conscious about all those and those kind of challenges. But we remain very, very excited about the fact that generative AI in totality is going to be a fantastic tool or fantastic mechanism to take the HR function to the next level. As far as that some of the other challenges apart from the two that I spoke about, it requires a very mathematical, statistical, very logical, very cognitive state of mind for you to be dealing with data. And my problem is that I think that the HR professionals over a period of time must start realizing that the HR function, while it is a soft function, it is a function which needs to deal with empathy, it needs to deal with sensitivity, it has to deal with a lot of inclusiveness and all that. But there is another dimension to the HR function, which is very hard, which is very mathematics driven, which is very data driven, which is very statistical driven. It requires a lot of scientific thinking. And I think one of the challenges for various HR teams across the world would be that are we preparing HR professionals who are not only good on the emotional quotient, but are they also good, equally good in their scientific thinking? Do they have ability to segregate bad data from the good data? Do they have ability to build a model and contribute to it, which can give predictive results? So I think one of the challenges is going to be the capabilities and the capacities of the HR team to embrace this technology and embrace this entire generative AI momentum which is going on in the market right now. That's one of the challenges. And second challenge is that the technology itself, whether the company is, ready to experiment with new models, are they open-minded? And I believe that we are as a company. Are we going to be open-minded with respect to marrying technology with science and use those predictive results and question our assumptions? For example, there are chances that we've been hiring certain kind of people with certain prejudices and assumptions, and they can get broken the moment you build a model which is free of prejudices and all that. So again, almost all functions like hiring, performance management, training, onboarding, retiring, level 1 HR queries, HR operations, almost every function in some way or the other is going to get impacted, and it is going to benefit. And when I say the word impacted, it's not negatively impacted. It's going to get benefited depending on how the HR people are, using the data and building models to help them navigate the space of generative AI.
That was extremely well articulated of this. And I want to really add a bit to what you said. And I want to take a minute and talk to our listeners directly here. One of the key AI adoption challenge could be resistance to change as well. And we see this in all new initiatives that we implement in our organizations. Some employees may fear that AI would replace their jobs, but in reality, it is that AI is meant to augment human capabilities, not replace them. Organizations need to communicate the benefits of AI and provide adequate training and implement this technology adoption roadmap to help HR and other teams as well. And I can tell you, as a marketing and communication professional, communication is going to be extremely crucial for change management that we would see when we are introducing disruptive technologies such as AI. Data privacy and security is also going to be one of those significant concerns. And if handled right, that is going to give a huge dividend when such significant changes are brought in. Avdesh mentioned is amply proper safeguarding data, compliance, and adhering to the regulations are going to be extremely essential as well. I am now going to move to my next question, and it's in everybody's mind. Will HR or any other function be replaced by AI? And are there going to be any risk on jobs because of AI?
Yeah, and I can tell you for sure my answer to that question, that will generative AI or any form of technology is going to replace jobs, or it is going to replace or wipe out any function, my answer is absolutely no. But having said that, I also want to be very, very conscious in terms of reminding our audience and reminding the people out there that be ready for your jobs to look different. Be ready to look at your jobs, which are probably going to be a little more reorganized. They may not be replaced, but they are going to get a little more reorganized. Our editorial person may be taking support from generative AI to create a first draft. That's going to happen. But then imagine the power that it gives you, that you got the first draft, which is a very, very menial job, and then you are adding insight, which is that you have picked up over a period of 20 years of your experience. So my message to the audience is that never in the history, if you go back and look at, technologies have replaced jobs completely. They have reorganized the jobs. Some jobs have, over a period of time, have become redundant by getting more reorganized than required. Some jobs were less reorganized, and over a period of time, there are chances that some jobs are going to disappear. But the technology will give you a lot of time to reorganize your career. Now, it is your choice that while certain things are getting redundant in your job because of your job being reorganized, that you start picking up items and you keep on enriching your job by making it much more meaningful, maybe taking on more job or doing a same job in a very different manner. That level of consciousness, how technology is going to reorganize your job, has to be there in people.
Couldn't agree more of this. AI will certainly have a profound impact on the HR function. And glad to know that all these fears are not entirely true as widely discussed and widely believed. My next question, and you have been the HR industry veteran. What advice would you give to HR professionals to stay relevant in the AI-driven world?
See, my only advice to all the HR professionals out there is that, first of all, remember that we have grown in an environment where we were told that HR is a soft function. We need to be more empathetic. It is a people-oriented function, and I agree with that. I agree with every bit of it. That HR needs to be creative, and we need to be very people-centric and very sensitive. When it comes to managing people and all that. But having said that, my other message and very important message to the HR teams is that when you are talking about technology and when you are talking about analytics and when you are talking about technology's ability to predict what's going to happen based on the data that you collect, and when you are talking about generative AI, which is basically based on a lot of modeling, in case you want to grapple with the reality of the second part of my suggestion, our discussion, then please remember that having a scientific bent of mind, which tells you what kind of data should I be collecting, what kind of, how do I reduce noise from my data, how do I know that my data is quality data, how do I collect cross-sectional data, how do I collect longitudinal data, how do I collect primary data, how do I collect secondary data. I'm getting into a domain which is very scientific in nature. And assuming all of you guys there, HR folks, assuming that your function is soft, and you have no need to get into the scientific bent of mind, I think that's the biggest mistake that you are going to do in future. Because remember one thing, some of you out there are going to build these models, which are going to help in terms of predictive ability of HR, which are going to help generative AI to generate answers which are much more meaningful, which are going to generate answers which are much more accurate, and there is an efficacy of the answers. Where is all that going to come from? It is going to come from people who have a very deep understanding of technology and who have a very deep scientific bent of mind. So my only advice is that, guys, develop that scientific bent of mind. Otherwise you will be found wanting as the world progresses.
That's very well said, Avdesh. And I think this advice would be applicable to other functions within the organization as well. That upskilling, keeping an open mind about evolving technology and keeping yourself updated with the latest in the domain is not just required, but it is a necessity. As we come to the end of this episode, and this is my last question to you, Avdesh. What can we expect in the future regarding AI in HR? What are those three top points that you think would evolve as we look into more adoption and more integration of AI in HR?
I think HR functions will continue to adopt it, especially cutting edge organizations. And as far as the top three sub functions of HR that are going to be get that are going to get influenced or impacted by generative AI, I would pick up a lot of I would like to see a lot of action on the hiring and recruitment side. And the reason is because there is a large amount of data there. Remember, wherever you have large amount of data becomes a very good candidate for any kind of analytics. Second, as you rightly said, learning and development, because generative AI has ability to create content. I think a lot of content creation, first level drafts, onboarding experience, as we spoke about, that's going to be another area which is learning and development, where I think generative AI is going to make inroads faster than what we envisage. And my final area would be that the lot of HR operations, which is level one queries, and even if they go to level two queries where people are asking questions which are a little more complex, I think the third element of generative AI intruding into HR function is going to be level one, level two queries. A lot of HR operations is going to get streamlined, and you will find that the employee experience in terms of navigating the organization, navigating their personal, queries, navigating what works fine in the company, what is the culture of the company. I think a lot of that level one, level two is going to be get addressed by generative AI. So in nutshell, be ready to see a lot more action on the hiring and the recruitment, induction side. Be ready to see a lot of action on the HR operations side, and be ready to see a lot of action on the learning and development side, folks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Avdesh. It was wonderful having you on the podcast. I'm sure our listeners are taking away some very important tips and tricks on generative AI, large language model adoption, and other areas that you spoke about. It was hugely beneficial, and I'm sure our listeners are going to appreciate that as well. Thank you to all the listeners for tuning in to this episode, and I hope you found this discussion enlightening and informative. As an organization, we are leaning on emerging and disruptive technologies, and generative AI is one of them. Thank you, Avdesh. It was wonderful having you on this podcast. I'm sure our listeners are taking away some very important tips and tricks on generative AI and large language models, instant adoption, and integration. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I hope that you found this discussion enlightening and informative. Do share your feedback about this episode. You are welcome to suggest your topics that you would like us to consider in the future episodes. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. If you are an alum, don't forget to join our group on LinkedIn to know the latest in equity and to access content carefully curated for financial professionals such as yourself. And if you are looking to pursue a career with an organization that offers a unique opportunity to work with leading banks, asset managers, hedge funds, and other leading financial services companies, and at the same time allows you to collaborate and learn from colleagues from across the world, visit our career page at equitykp.com and start your career journey with us. Until the next episode, take care.